Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. It's time to talk about current events. I think everyone knew this video was coming. Obviously it was coming. People were already asking me yesterday, Jason, give your opinion on it. It's like, you guys already know I'm going to do that. We don't need 37 people asking me. So let's talk about Hafthor's deadlift. He pulled it. Okay, he pulled it. And I know there's a lot of controversy about it, and a lot of people had their say in it, and I gave him, based upon it, in my last video, I gave him 2-to-1 odds. I'm going to admit that my 2-to-1 odds were not even good. They were wrong. Based on what I saw on this pull that he did yesterday, my 2-to-1 wasn't really accurate. People say, what do you mean? You gave him good odds. No. By giving someone 2 to odds, that means there's a 1 in 3 they're going to fail it, and it means it's going to be really hard. All right, look how fast that bar moved. That was not a grinder. That was not 100%. And this is what I say, that we got to give credit where credit is due. I'm not even a Hafthor fan. I like Eddie Hall better. Like, I find Eddie Hall more entertaining and a more interesting personality. Right? I just like Eddie Hall more. And I'll just call it like it is. But we have to be realistic about that lift that he pulled. He pulled his 501, and he left kilos on the platform. Okay? Now, I'll say that's a smart move. And I hate it when people come in and say stuff like, oh, he should have just gone heavier. He should have smashed that. It's like, first of all, you don't pull a world record and then think that you're going to go up again a few more percent and try to do it again. It doesn't matter that something like that looked relatively easy for him. It probably was well above 95% of his max. Making a second pull, okay, going for a second pull heavier instead of just breaking his record could have given him a chance for an injury. And that's what people need to understand. When you're trying to play a long game in anything, that's actually the smart move. So I actually have more respect for the guy now because he didn't try to showboat. He came in and he broke the record by 1 kilo, broke the world record by 1 kilo, and then said, okay, I'm going to chill there and I'm not going to injure myself trying to showboat and break my own record again that I just broke. I'd say that's a wise move. I actually have more respect for the guy for having done that. I've seen some people like, oh, he should have gone. No. I actually respect the guy more than I did a week ago for stopping, breaking the record and just stopping. Okay, that means he's not a dumbass. Basically what that means. It probably isn't. So we have to look at the lift itself. That was fast. He's good for another 10, maybe 20 kilos. Right? I think that's fair. If someone were to ask me what would the odds be, 520 might be a little bit harder. Do I think he could pull 510? Yeah, I think he could. I think if he were to come back 6 weeks from now and try to pull 510, I would give him, I would say he's going to get it. I would say very, very probably he would. 520, we might have to give different odds. But let's come over to the other point. My 2-to-1 odds were off. And I base that upon what I saw from his last heavy pull. How the speed didn't move, what he did with us, and I'll give him 2-to-1 odds. No, he's stronger than I gave him credit for. He's stronger based upon that pull. Because if my 2-to-1 odds were right, that would have been a grindy pull and he would have struggled at the end. What ended up happening, he pulls the world record, 501. Doesn't stagger, doesn't almost pass out, doesn't almost die. Has a pretty chill victory. Okay. That didn't almost kill him. And I know, man, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, how's Eddie going to feel about that? Or was Eddie showboating or whatever? Was Eddie over-exaggerating, talking about how he was almost going to die and pass out and everything else with his 500 pull? No, he probably wasn't. He probably wasn't exaggerating, to be fair. Now, granted, I know that's his personality type. But it probably really did feel that way. I mean, be realistic here. For most of us, if we pull a deadlift world record for our class in anything, we very well might be close to passing out. Right? We might have really high blood pressure and other stuff, but we didn't see that with Thor, and that's what tells me that he's stronger than I gave him credit for. He just is, and it's clearly obvious looking at it. So, I will again give credit where credit is due and say, okay, the guy is stronger than I thought he was, and he's probably a little smarter than I thought he was because he stopped at the 501. So, I'll come back and break it next time. Now, the issue here is all the other showboating around it, and this is where I don't like Team Hafthor. All this nonsense now, oh, a boxing match. Like, seriously? Like, that's one of the things that I can't stand, is in people who are not fighters jump up with, I'm going to whoop your ass, I want a cage match. Like, that's one of the things I can't stand. So when people are always wanting to challenge me to one, that's why I'm like, I need $100,000. Right? I need $100,000 up front. And people think that's a cop-out. No, I'm not doing it as a cop-out. I'm not a fighter. So if I'm going to get in a ring and risk getting injured and risk getting my ass whooped in front of everybody watching, I want to be paid for it. Because it's nonsense. Basically, anyone who pulls this is grown-ass men, oh, I want to fight you. And when you're not a professional fighter, I get it if you're a professional fighter. If this is your career, you're a boxer, you're an MMA fighter, this is what you do for a living and what you train for, I get it. You want to fight against another professional who's trained for that because it's your sport. I can respect that. That's totally different. When random people who've taken 3 karate classes at the YMCA jump up and challenge everyone else to cage matches, or just because you're big and strong that you want to get in a fight on camera, to me, that's just stupidity. It's stupidity, and it's a level of immaturity that's just ridiculous and should be made fun of. And the people who want to see it, I mean, you've got to look at what is the intellectual process and IQ of people who want to see it. They just want to see 2 people who are famous for something not related to fighting. They want to see them get in a ring and fight and beat each other's brains out. I'm going to say that if that's what hype you up and be exciting to you, you're probably either really immature or you're stupid. You're probably stupid. Because people who are intelligent don't find that sort of thing particularly entertaining. You just don't. I mean, it's one thing when it's an actual sport. Okay, it's one thing when it's a sport where they are trained professionals who are at the top of their game. Because fighting sports are just like any other sport. They are still a sport and it's a discipline. But people who aren't fighters, who just want to duke it out in a ring, and people who find that entertaining, you're probably mentally handicapped. Or close to. You're not functioning at a very high level. Kind of like Idiocracy. Basically, that would be the level of entertainment you see in Idiocracy. So when that nonsense started, it's kind of like, okay, now can we just cut this bullshit and go back to lifting? All right, can we go back to lifting? Can we go back to picking up heavy stuff, carrying heavy stuff? Do we need to make this about WWE? I got a problem with that, and I think that's stupidity. I think it's just stupidity, and I don't have any respect for that. I have respect for the lift, but we don't need to have his coaches and other people jumping up talking about cage matches or boxing matches. Get in there and outlift each other. You're strength athletes. You're not fighters. You're not fighters. I mean, this is some vegan gains level stupidity. That's what I disliked. And that's what I was worried about when this event kind of got taken over to a bit of showmanship. That was a concern, and that's what I had said before. Well, unless it becomes official, this record doesn't count. Doesn't mean you can't lift it, but it's got to be sanctioned competition. Well, the federation jumped up. They said, we're going to make an exception for this because we know everything's closed down, a special exception. And I said, okay, I can respect that. And me personally, as an athlete myself, I don't compete in strongman. I do other stuff. If the federation looks at the world scenario and lockdowns and says, okay, we're going to make an exception because the guy looks like we think he can break a world record, top level competitor, we're going to make an exception. We're going to have everything certified. We're going to have ESPN show it, make a big deal because it's good publicity for their sport because he's famous for being on Game of Thrones. Hey, it's good publicity for their sport. I get it. I get it. Again, it's a little bit over the top as far as doing what they need to do for publicity. But I understand it and say, okay, I mean, I know they want their sport to grow. They want it to get, use this as an opportunity, especially when everyone's on lockdown and everyone had nothing else better to do in many places other than to watch this. And all the other sports around the world are largely shut down. So for this to be all over the world for everyone to see, it's good for strongman. It's good for strength sports. But then we have to go from that level to, oh, let's set up a fight. See, we've gone from reasonable We've gone from reasonable to entertainment for mentally handicapped people. And I don't respect that. I don't respect that at all. And that's the part I don't like. And that's a little bit of a concern. That's now the direction it's going to go. And it comes back over to the problem a lot of people have with Team Hafthor. The bullshittery. Because they could have just made it about the lift. And they should have made it about the lift. That was a damn good lift. Okay? That was a damn good lift. And you can't not respect that lift. You can't look at that lift and say, okay, man, yeah, he legit broke that record. Right? Because he left kilos on the tank. That was a clean, solid pull. And the numbers in the lift speak for themselves. Instead of leaving it there, then we have to have this nonsense of let's have a fight. And for those people who want to see it, that's you too. You guys are probably Vegan Gains fans. You probably watch that ass clown. So that's my only negative criticism of the whole thing is we have this bullshit happening. We had something that was a perfectly good, absolutely amazing feat of strength. I mean, that was an amazing feat of strength. That's next level stuff. And to go from that and let's turn it into WWE in a fight makes me not a fan. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.